Hey everybody, welcome back to my shop. Today we have, first of all, I got to put a disclaimer in here. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. Don't go try to repair your vehicle by watching my channel, because I am not going to be responsible if you don't do it right. Now I will show somewhat, but this ain't, don't watch my stuff to repair your stuff. But anyway, what we got here is a 2013 Kia Rio. The customer complaint is it's a no start. Family member lives about a mile away, so I run over there, and sure enough, all they had to do was just crank over, wouldn't start. So we pulled it over here to the shop. No start. Pushed it in the shop, got to fooling around with it. We had fuel pressure and we had spark, but still wouldn't start. The only thing I could find wrong with it, it had a bad battery. So we put a new battery in it, turned over better, but it still wouldn't start. So what I did, I said, well, let's see. I took a little carburetor cleaner, shot it down in the intake, and fired up. I said, well, cut it off, crank right back up. Cut it off, crank right back up. I drove it for a week. Absolutely no problems at all. Now, I know sometimes a bad battery will cause a lot of electronic issues. So I just put it up to being a bad battery. She come and got it 3 days later. She calls me, Ray, it's doing the same thing, but it's taking a long time to crank, but it does crank, but I don't have no RPM signal. I said, well, that's a good clue. Thank you for telling me that. So she brings it back. Next day, I go to get in it, bring it in the garage. Boom, fired right up. Guess what? Absolutely no problem. I drove it a couple of days, no issues. I scratched in my head. I called a friend of mine. I Googled it. You know, what else? I YouTubed it. YouTubed on the YouTube. But I know in the past, with no RPM signal, not always, just been the crank sensor. But no codes in the vehicle at all. I put the Autel on it, no codes at all. So I called her up. I said, look, I don't know. I suggested maybe you ought to take it somewhere that's got a little better equipment I got, because a mechanic is only good as the tools that he's got. She said, well, you say you think it's going to be a crank sensor. I said, yeah. I said, I think. I'm not going to be 100% sure. I just think. She said, well, put one in there anyway. I said, okay. So we're going to put a crank sensor in, cross our fingers, and hope it fixes the problem, which I told her, 50-50 chance. No crank sensor codes, no nothing. Everything's working just like it's supposed to work. It's an intermediate problem, and that's a hard problem to find. So let's get rolling on this. There's the oil filter, and there's the crank sensor. So we're going to swap out the crank sensor and see what happens. So let's get her done. too tight of quarters up there for me to be filming and y'all see what I'm doing. Plus, I haven't got a good lighting system yet. You can't see what I'm doing no way without the flashlight. I'm gonna take my little 1/4" drive ratchet. I'm gonna get up here and pull this one bolt out. Maybe. Maybe, baby. It's a tight fit up in here, everybody. So if all else fails, get a hammer. I believe that's all it took. It's slowly coming. Let's just get this little, there we go. And it will be a lot easier if you just pull that one bolt out, because you can't get to that up where it's at in the car. But that's the crank sensor. All right, everybody, we got the new crank sensor in. I couldn't take you up in there because it's such tight quarters that I barely could get my hands in there. But we got it in. Yes, we did. Now, let's let the car down and see if it cranks and see if we got any codes. We'll put the all-tail back on it and scan it and make sure, because I know some vehicles you got to do a crank relearn. But we'll check it out and see what happens. So y'all don't go nowhere. Well, okay, everybody, that's it. I mean, we got the crank sensor installed. There's no codes in the system. We scanned it with the all-tail. Apparently there's no relearn on this crank sensor. So we're going to give the car back to her, let her drive it and see what happens, and hopefully a good guess fixed the thing. But you know how it goes when it goes to cars. So thank y'all for coming along. If you liked the video, like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch y'all on the next one. Bye, y'all.